What's going on YouTube? You guys here. Today's video is about how to replace the rear differential on Mazda CX5. In today's video I'm going to work on my vehicle, which is Mazda CX5 2015 2.5 all-wheel drive Grand Touring. And since you are watching this video, you're probably on the same page as I am, and that's noisy rear differential. Unfortunately, on pre-facelift models, the rear differential, I would say, kind of weak. You know, even if you, for some reason, cannot follow the factory recommendations and install the different size of tires, for example, a little bit wider or a little bit higher, rear differential may become noisy. I want to tell you a little backstory. So this car has only 43,000 miles, and even on 43,000 miles, the rear differential is bad. I called the Mazda dealership and asked about price for labor only, and they told me $1,100, which is, I think, too much to replace the rear differential. And for the part itself, brand new, costs around $1,800, which means that in total, to replace the rear differential in Mazda dealership with the part itself, you need to spend pretty much everywhere from $2,700 to $2,900, which I think is really expensive. So I purchased a pre-owned rear differential from Pam's Auto. By the way, this is not the paid promotion. Those guys did not pay me a penny, but I'm just saying to give you kind of information where to search for that part, because when I needed that information, I was not able to find a lot of DIY things about CX5. So I thought it's going to be good to share my knowledge. So I purchased the rear differential from Pam's Auto. I already replaced one on this car, but unfortunately it was defective. You know, as with all pre-owned parts, there's always risk that the part is not as good as a brand new. I called Pam's Auto. They are really nice guys. They offered me a replacement with no cost to me at all. No shipping cost, no part cost, nothing. So they already sent me the new one. I received it. It has only 10,000 miles, which is pretty much new. That's kind of a backstory. And another thing is, in this video I'm going to show you how to replace it easy way, because when I replaced the rear differential first, I did not know a lot about CX5 at all. So I sort of removed some parts which was not necessary to be removed. In this video I will show you what you need to remove and what can stay on the car, and which is the easiest way to replace the rear differential. So okay, step one, let's do a really quick unboxing. Let's see what you have in the box, so you will kind of know how it looks like and what to expect. Okay, so here's the rear differential. This part itself, from here till here, is differential, and this is the coupler, which comes with the differential if you are buying that pre-owned. I mean, mostly. If you're buying brand new, you can buy differential itself and the coupler separate. As far as I remember, differential was $1,100 and the coupler is $700. So what you want to do first thing is just turn this part over here and make sure that it spins really smoothly and doesn't have any kind of noise, because if it has any noise, it's pretty much bad. That was my first mistake when I replaced the first one. When I spin this part, it had just barely noise, but still, you know, when it's installed on the car and when you're driving like 30-40 miles per hour, that small noise usually become really loud. So that's first thing first. Rule number one, never ignore safety, never. Never leave your car only on the car jack because it's really dangerous. Those things, especially these diamond shaped car jacks, they are not the strongest thing ever. So better use the car jack stands. As you can see, I did the same stuff. Car jack stands on the right side of the car as well. And another thing is always make sure that car sits in level to make sure that the weight distributes on the left and right side jack stands evenly. That's another really important stuff especially whenever you're going to work under the car. Next thing what you want to do is to release the parking brake, because in case if your parking brake is up, you won't be able to remove the rear brake caliper, which is necessary to be removed. The second thing what you want to do is to put your car in neutral. For that you want to use wheel chocks to make sure that car stays in place. I'm using them, as you can see, on both sides, to make sure that car stays in one place and won't roll forward. So, and the put it in the neutral is necessary because you pretty much will need to spin your rear axle to have better access to some nuts. Next step is going to be to drain rear differential. This bolt right here is the drain. Drain bolt size is 24 millimeter. I already loosened the bolt, so because it is kind of tough to record the video and plus work with the tools. So I will try to do both as best as possible. And another thing is I'm going to reuse the differential fluid since I used the brand new here and I ran on it maybe 15 miles or so, so it's still in pretty much brand new condition, but you may need to replace it. It depends how old is yours. Yeah, as you can see, mine has pretty good color. The next guys, and this is the step where I'm going to save a lot of your time. So in order to replace the rear differential, of course you need to remove the rear axle, which is this thing right here. And in order to remove the rear axle, you need to take apart the whole rear piece, which is brake caliper, then you need to remove the brake rotor, and then you need to remove the wheel hub and then pull out the rear axle. So to do so, what you need to do, you need to remove this lock nut. And to remove it, by the way, if you are going to remove it, this is a 32 millimeter, so you need a socket which is eventually 32 millimeter. To loosen it, you need to make sure that this part doesn't spin. And to do so, what you need to do, you need to take out this center cap from your wheel, install the wheel on the car, then lower the car to make sure that wheel sits on the floor, on the ground or whatever, and then you will be able to use your socket through the wheel and loosen this bolt, because this sits right here really tight. You cannot just loosen it as is. And just imagine installing the wheel back, then loosen the bolt, then lift the car, then take apart all these parts here, and then pull the rear axle. It takes at least half an hour to take it apart and put it back then, which means that for the both parts you will spend at least 1 hour. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave everything here as is. The only thing that I'm going to remove is brake caliper, which is super easy. The only thing that you need to do is use the 14 millimeter wrench or ratchet, whichever is more convenient for you. It's one here, a second is right over here, and the brake caliper will come right over. And then another part is remove 14 millimeter bolt right here and another under right here. And this complete part is going to be out. Next thing is to remove 4 14 millimeter wheel hub bolts, which is really easy to do. They are right around the rear axle. And the last thing which you need to do is you need to remove the ABS sensor. You just need to remove this 10 millimeter bolt, and this sensor will just come right away. So next thing, what you need to make sure that this zip tie, which is right here, you see this little small pin which it has on top, you need to make sure that it will be lined up with the ABS sensor, because this is the only way you can pull the rear axle out, because otherwise your rear axle pretty much will stuck, because there's no room for that pin to go through. So you need to make sure that that pin and the ABS sensor are lined up. So that's pretty much it. After that, I'm going to attach the slide hammer and just pull the whole piece out. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to switch the time-lapse mode to remove all these small parts, which is, I mean, nothing special. And as soon as I get to the part where I'm going to take this, the rear axle out, I'm going to switch back to the camera mode so you can see the whole process. Okay guys, as you saw, I removed all necessary parts. I mean, it was pretty quick, pretty fast. Make sure, one more time, make sure that the ABS sensor is out, because otherwise you are risking to damage it. Because the place where the ABS sensor is sitting is the only place where you can slide the little pin on top of the zip tie. So one more time, let's make sure that it sits right. It's aligned right with the ABS sensor location, and leave it as it is. Next thing, what I'm going to do, I'm going to attach this on my wheel hub, and I'm going to use factory lug nuts. You don't really need to tighten it too much, just to make sure that you know it sits on place and sits steady and clearly. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit so you can see. A little bit better. Oops, accidentally spin. Okay, and here we go. Simple as that. As I showed you, the whole piece is out, so the only thing that you need to do is to pull the rear axle from the rear differential, just like that. Okay, So now I will show you the piece. So this is the piece which I told you about. This is zip tie right here. This piece needs to go through this piece right here, because otherwise it will stuck on these small walls right here. So you need to make sure that this is aligned right here. One thing which I want to recommend is to make sure that you have this kind of ratchet, which is 17 millimeters, because without this it's going to be really tough to remove the differential, because there is no room to work, especially when you're working on the floor, when you don't have a lift to, you know, to just stay and work that way. You pretty much will lay under the car, so there's not really big room to fit this kind of ratchet with the socket on, which will be like, I'd say like 2 inches at least. So make sure that you have this. It will save you a lot of time and a lot of energy. I already went through that process without this ratchet, and I know what that means. It's really tough. Okay guys, we are under the car now. It's, yeah, I mean, just be ready that it's pretty tight here, so it's not too comfortable to work, but it is what it is. Here's a few things that we need to remove. It is pretty simple if you know what to do and you have all necessary tools. So first we need to remove all these 4 nuts right here, which holds the drive shaft on the rear coupler. This is 12 millimeter nuts. Next thing is going to be these 17 millimeters bolts, and this is the ones which I told you about, that you need this 17 millimeter ratchet. And you are maybe kind of surprised because here is a lot of space, but I don't know if you will be able to see the one which is right there, which sits above this one right there. This one is one which you cannot use any kind of tool except of just a regular wrench, because it's really tight there. So as I said, just make sure that you have that ratchet. It's going to be one here, 2, 3, and the top one is right here, 4. Next step is going to be to remove 3 14 millimeter bolts which holds the back of the differential. It's 1, 2, and 3 right here. Usually how it works, you will need to remove this 17 millimeter nut which holds the bracket which is sitting the rear differential. It is going through the bushing right here, but I prefer not to do so because in my opinion it's more headache to do so. That's why I'm removing these 3 bolts, and in that case I have this bracket on the place, so I don't need to align it in the future. So also what you need to do, you need to unplug this sensor right here and another sensor which is right up here, also this small hose. Okay guys, here are both differentials. So this is the one which I removed from my car, and this is the one which I recently received. So I just want to show you what kind of noise am I talking about. So as soon as you get the pre-owned part, just spin this right here and make sure that it is not noisy like this. As you can hear, it has pretty bad noise. The one little tip what I want to tell you is make sure that you have sealant that you have these sealant rings on your drain and fill up bolts. So the thing is that it's going to be much easier if you remove this now, because as soon as you install the differential on the car, it's going to be really tough to reach this bolt, which means that at least it's a good idea to loosen it now and then install on the car. So this is the tip which is pretty much you will find really useful. So another thing is make sure that you take a picture of this code right here and this one as well, because in some cases you need to reprogram your all-wheel drive module, and to do so you need to have these codes both. So make sure that you take a picture of this before you install the differential. Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is me, Ika again. So unfortunately the battery of my camera just died in the middle of recording, so I was not able to record the whole assembly process. So sorry about that, but you know, it's pretty much straightforward that you're just doing everything backwards. You're putting the differential and the axles back, then the brake system, and then put the wheels on the car. That's it, done. So let's take a little spin together and see if the problem is solved. Okay guys, so here we go. Oh goodness, finally, no more annoying noise. So guys, I hope you find this video helpful for yourself, and if so, please leave your comments and press that like button. It will be really highly appreciated. Also, if you are interested in my future videos, please subscribe on my channel. Peace.